Hi everyone, thank you so much for checking out this video about my new book called Amazing Black Atlantic Canadians, which was published by Nimbus Publishing. My name is Lindsay Ruck and I'm an author living in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia with my husband and my two beautiful children. I thought for this video I would just give you a bit of background on the process of writing this book, why it's really so special to me and why I'm so honored to be a part of this project, and also what readers can find inside of the book. So the project began when I pitched an idea to Nimbus about a children's book that I wanted to write about the No. 2 Black Construction Battalion. So the No. 2 Black Construction Battalion was formed during World War I. At the outbreak of war, many Black men flocked to recruiting stations and they were told they were not fit to fight. They were told this is a white man's war. They were told that they didn't want a checkerboard army and they were told to go home. So after much protest and years, the Black Battalion, which is a construction battalion, was eventually formed. And they were the first and only all-Black battalion in the First World War. These men risked their lives every day. They were not given weapons because of the color of their skin, but they were sent overseas to dig trenches, to defuse landmines, to remove the wounded from the battlefield. And despite doing all of this and risking their lives every day, they still did not go home as Canadian heroes. They returned as second-class citizens. Now, the story of the Black Battalion, I wasn't learning about in school. It wasn't in my textbooks. It wasn't part of the curriculum. I learned the story from my grandfather, who was the late Senator Quintin Ruck. And he actually also wrote a book, which was also published by Nimbus Publishing, called The Black Battalion. So a lot of the Black history I learned was through my grandfather, specifically Black Canadian history. I remember during African Heritage Month, we would talk about Dr. Martin Luther King in school, and some would mention Rosa Parks, but that's pretty much the extent of it. I didn't learn much more. So I'm so thankful to my grandfather, and that's why I was so thankful for the opportunity to write this book, because these are the individuals that kids should be learning about, that kids should be inspired by, and knowing the endless possibilities that they can also achieve. So writing the book was an honor, and when Nimbus suggested that I take it one step further and not only write about the Black Battalion, but also write about over 50 other amazing Black Atlantic Canadians, I was so thrilled. And I began immediately digging in and doing the research. I'm very thankful for technology. A lot of work was done online, and reading different information about these individuals, contacting different people and finding out about the dates and facts and making sure I had the numbers right, going to the library and finding out what books had been written about these individuals already. Some had penned their own biographies, so I was able to work with those as well. But it was such a learning experience for me. I was learning so much, which is why I knew that this is something that really we were missing, not only in the school, but just in our homes, something that really honors these individuals who paved the way for me, but also for my children now. So that's why it's so special that I was able to work on this project. So those who are included in the book, it was tough, although there's over 50. The Atlantic provinces are bursting with incredible Black Atlantic Canadians. So not everyone, unfortunately, could be included in these pages. But there are artists, there are athletes, there are politicians, there are those who have served their country, such as the Black Battalion. There are social activists, such as my grandfather, and people that I like to call movers and shakers. So these are people who they wanted to see change, so they decided they needed to be the change. And these are individuals who, they're not royalty. It's not like they're doing things because they have a ton of money or fame. They're just doing it because they want to make a difference, and that's what makes them truly amazing, in my opinion. So one of the individuals is actually on the cover of the book as well, is Quintin Provo, and he's an excellent example of a mover and shaker. Quintin lost his cousin to gun violence, And that really just lit a fire in him, to not accept the status quo and to know that something needed to change. And he started a movement called Stop the Violence, Spread the Love. And he's done peace marches. He's raised money to help kids who wouldn't have different opportunities otherwise because of the color of their skin. And Quintrell is someone who has been honored globally. He's been recognized around the world, but it's very clear that's not why he does what he does. He does it to make a difference and to inspire people, especially younger individuals. So I knew that he was someone I really wanted included in the book. Someone else who I've always really admired is opera singer Misha Gaussman, and she's an incredibly talented opera singer. And there's a great story in the book about when she was going to school in Toronto, she would return to her hometown of Fredericton, New Brunswick every year and give a concert to raise money to continue her schooling. And I mean, Misha is someone who has sung around the world. She's sung at Carnegie Hall in New York and the Sydney Opera House in Sydney, Australia. And something that I found especially interesting when she traced her heritage and her ancestry, and she found out she was a descendant of enslaved people, John and Rose Gaussman. And they escaped slavery during the American Revolutionary War. And their names are actually inscribed in the Book of Negroes. So those little tidbits of information are just like nuggets that I get so excited when I find. And I made sure to include those and kind of highlight them in little word boxes. So we have kind of did you know boxes, and we have sidebars. And these are things that younger readers especially will be drawn to. And I make sure to explain the Book of Negroes and what that is. And that's something else I really wanted to make sure that kids didn't feel lost while they were reading the book. So we also have a glossary at the back of the book, and words that maybe are a little more complicated or need a bit more reference, they're in bold throughout the book. And then you can go to the back of the book and you can get a better definition, a simple definition of what that means. So things like discrimination is something that would be also explained in the back of the book, just for the younger readers to understand. Another great did you know box is someone else who's on our cover, Viola Desmond. There's a story about when she was 3 years old and she was living with her family in the north end of Halifax on Gottingen Street. And this was December 6, 1917. And all of a sudden there was this flash and a burst, and their window broke and the blind actually fell on top of her. And while she wasn't injured, she ended up being okay, but they discovered it was the Halifax explosion. So all these different little nuggets, I like to call them, were really interesting, and I think that other people would find them interesting as well. So I wanted to highlight those things. Some other really great things that we're also able to include in the book were things like important dates. So at the back, you kind of get a chronological idea of just the history of Blacks in Atlantic Canada. And at the beginning of the book, there's also kind of a broader history of Blacks in Atlantic Canada, starting off with Matthew DaCosta, who was the first known Black man to be in the Atlantic provinces. So I talk about that, and we kind of go through how Blacks came to these different Atlantic provinces. And these are things that I wasn't necessarily learning about in school, so I wanted to make sure I include them in a way that was appealing to younger readers. The other way also to do that was through these beautiful illustrations by James Bentley. I'm so grateful that we were able to work together on this. He did an incredible job, and it's beautiful. He brought these pages to life, so I'm so grateful for that partnership with him. I learned so much writing this book, and it was a real joy. My hope is that this will be something that not only younger readers will be drawn to, but also adults as well. And it's something I think that adults can read with kids. It's to start conversations, it's to start these conversations about these individuals. And this is just a taste. It's a way that people can go and find out more about these individuals, and also to talk about racism, to talk about what it means to be anti-racist, what it means to have basic human rights, no matter the color of your skin. These are the types of conversations that the amazing Black Atlantic Canadians might inspire and encourage. And my real hope is that everyone just enjoys reading it as much as I enjoyed writing it. So thank you so much for checking out the video. I really hope you enjoy the book.